Hello everybody. Reverend Dr. Red here. And I just want to let everybody know that I've been monitoring a lot of the news lately, and I've got to say that the NRA seems to be taking a lot of heat for what recently happened with this Trayvon Martin case. Everybody seems to be blaming the NRA for Trayvon Martin's death, and I just watched another video of how they're allegedly blaming the NRA for the death of this other 15-year-old black teenager who was shot by officers because he pulled out a sawed-off shotgun on the officers. And they're trying to say, in relation to the NRA, that's the NRA's fault, because in this particular neighborhood, the NRA has an event coming up, April 12th through the 15th, and they have big billboards up across on the roadways there. It says NRA Acres of Guns and Gear, April 12th through 15th. Now, how is that sound responsible for the fact that this kid had a sawed-off shotgun and pulled on the cops? Doesn't matter if you're white, black, purple, yellow. Doesn't matter what color you are. If you pull out a weapon on a police officer, the police officer is going to shoot you to defend himself. And that's just the way it goes. And as far as the NRA being responsible for Trayvon Martin's death, and as far as the NRA being responsible for the stand your ground laws and other laws where you have the right to shoot to defend yourself in self-defense. First of all, the stand your ground laws can only be used in self-defense if the scenario fits. So as far as Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman is concerned, if medical records come back to prove that Zimmerman does have the injury that he says he has, and if they can prove without a doubt that he was defending himself, that Trayvon was following after him on the way back to his vehicle, then it was justified shooting. It was in self-defense. But if either A, the medical records don't prove his injuries, or B, the events that went down can't prove the fact that he tried walking away and Martin went after Zimmerman, then the stand your ground law does not protect Zimmerman in the slightest. It's not a license to kill. The stand your ground law is not a license to kill, and the stand your ground law is not just for white people. So everybody that's trying to say that the NRA's fault or the stand your ground law's fault for Trayvon's death or anybody else's death out there, you're still mistaken. Like I said in my last video, it doesn't matter if you're white, black, Hispanic, Asian. With stand your ground law in place, you have the authority, if you fear for your life, to pull out your weapon and shoot this person. And when the police arrive, and they take a look at the scene and everything, and the evidence proves that you were in the right, then under the stand your ground law, it was a justified shooting, and you're off free and clear in self-defense under the stand your ground law. However, if those events don't prove that you were in the right, then you're getting arrested for unlawfully shooting this individual. So the stand your ground law is not necessarily a license to kill. And the NRA is not the one to blame for Trayvon Martin's death or the death of anybody else out there. The NRA, for one, has been around for well over 100-something years. And everything you read about as far as gun safety laws, gun safety in general, and everything like that, is because of the NRA. The NRA promotes gun safety. The NRA promotes the legal and lawful use of such firearms. And they're trying to preserve the Second Amendment right. The Second Amendment right gives us the right to own and bear arms. Gives us the right to form a militia to defend ourselves against enemies, foreign and domestic, including the government, should the government become an enemy of the Constitution. Now, that same right, that same Second Amendment right, applies to every American citizen, whether you're white, black, Hispanic, Asian, it doesn't matter. If you're an American citizen, you have a Second Amendment right to own and bear arms. You have the constitutional right to own a handgun or a rifle or whatever. All the NRA is doing is trying to make sure that no laws, no legislation gets passed that nullifies our Second Amendment rights and takes away our rights as citizens of America to own and bear arms. They have also been working with law enforcement agencies to help promote gun safety and to train gun owners themselves how to be safer and more careful with their firearms, as well as how to train the children with around the firearms, so you don't wind up in a scenario where now you have a teenage child that never got to see mommy's or daddy's gun, and now they're gonna, realize that they're tall enough or whatever to get to the firearm and take it out of the lockbox, and have them misfire to where they wind up killing themselves, or they'll wind up using them to shoot somebody else. So they teach the parents who own weapons how to deal with the guns with the children to kind of kill the curiosity. Everything with the NRA is all about protecting the Second Amendment right and about gun safety. So anybody that's out there that's attacking the NRA, saying that's NRA's fault for Trayvon's death or the death of anybody, is sadly mistaken. And you clearly don't understand the founding of the NRA or the mission of the NRA at all in the slightest. And from what I can see on the news here, the news is trying to brainwash everybody into thinking that the NRA is evil, then it's the NRA's fault. Just the same way they were trying to do with the Tea Party, and the same way they were trying to do with numerous other organizations. Because they need a scapegoat. The government needs a scapegoat. They need a fall guy. And they're trying to rid us of our Second Amendment rights. Well, the strongest entity right now holding on to our Second Amendment rights is the NRA. So they're literally using this Trayvon case to further their agenda to get rid of our Second Amendment rights. And as I said in my last video pertaining to the NRA, I believe it was called 10 Facts Every Gun Owner Must Know About Obama. And as I said in that video, we need to really pay attention to what's going on, because they're using Trayvon's death. There is an upcoming event at the United Nations. I believe it's being initiated on July 2nd, and it's supposed to last 4 weeks. And the outcome of this is either going to be A, can we just have tighter gun control, or B, we lose our guns, period, internationally. Every nation that's a member of the United Nations, their citizens, America included, considering we are a member of the United Nations, can lose our rights to own and bear arms, which means we're going to literally have all the weapons confiscated from us and burnt in a scrap heap. And what that's going to do is now justify the government to do whatever else they want, they can do, knowing that it should spark an uprising. The citizens, aside from the common criminal, does not have firearms of any sort, because they're just took away from us, because we no longer have the right to have any firearms. What the NRA is doing is they're combating this nonsense, and they're combating all the propaganda being spewed by the mainstream media and by the current administration of both America as well as international, trying to promote the gun facts. And people need to realize that it's not the guns that kill people. It's people that kill people. All guns are is the tool that evil people use to kill people with. If there were no guns, they'd use knives. If there were no knives, they'd use something else. That's just how it goes. No matter what you do, no matter what kind of laws or legislation you have, no matter what you get rid of out of the hands of the citizens, you're always going to have evil people that are going to kill other people, and they're always going to find a means to do just that. It has nothing to do with the fact that we have a right to own and bear arms. That doesn't have nothing to do with the fact that we have knives in our kitchens to help us cut up our meat and whatever else. If you start getting rid of all these things, you're still going to have the killers out there, and these people are going to find something to use to kill people. It is people that kill people. It's not the guns. It's not the knives. It's not any of the weapons. Every citizen out there has a right to own and bear arms, and every individual out there has a right to own weapons. The responsible individual will simply own and respect this particular weapon and use it for the sole purposes of self-defense. And that is it, nothing more. Like I said in numerous other videos in the past, I myself can have a firearm. It goes with me wherever I go. It is loaded 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. When I am home, it is with me in my house. When I'm in my vehicle, it is with me in my vehicle. Wherever I am, my firearm is with me. Does that mean that I've used it? No, it doesn't. I haven't shot anybody to date. If I can manage to defuse a situation without pulling my weapon, I do. If I feel I can defuse a situation or take somebody down that's attacking me by using hand-to-hand combat and restraining them until the law enforcement arrives, then that is exactly what I will do. The only time I will pull my firearm is if either A, the other individual has a firearm, and I'm trying to take them out before they take me out, or if I feel that this individual is too strong for me to handle in a hand-to-hand combat, and he's about ready to kill me. In which case, I will struggle to now, after I attempted to fight him hand-to-hand combat, I will struggle to get to my firearm and unload a round or two into this individual to stop him and try to detain him until law enforcement arrives. Not every individual that owns a firearm is an evil person. Not every individual that owns a firearm is necessarily going out there to kill people. That's one of the biggest misconceptions that mainstream media is trying to blanket over in front of our eyes. There's a huge problem going on right now with propaganda. They're trying to control what we believe by repeating the same thing over and over and over again, day after day after day after day, knowing that sooner or later you're going to believe it. And then the fact that whether you would like to admit it or not, racism is still alive and well in this nation. And I'm sorry to say, but the blacks are about more racist than the whites and the Hispanics combined. You touch on a subject that involved where the black man was the victim. Now they can play the race card. So you add in the race card to this propaganda, and it just throws everything over the boiling point. And everybody's going to be believing this. And you have the people that feel sorry for themselves and whatever that are going to now fall for it. Nobody's going to really be paying attention to what the hard facts are. They're going to be paying attention to the fact that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, they're hearing the same thing over and over and over again. And then there's just like that people believe that, well, if the news media is saying it, it must be true because these people are journalists. They're out in the field. They're more intelligent than I am, so they must know what they're talking about. That's not the case. Maybe once upon a time in history of America that was the case, but not today. Certainly not today. Whether you like to believe it or not, they are using the news media to control what you believe. They're using the media to control your perception of reality, and in this case, to control what your feelings are about the NRA. Now, whether you're white or black or Hispanic, Asian, it doesn't matter at all. The NRA is protecting your Second Amendment rights. The NRA is protecting your right to defend yourself. And the NRA is trying to teach you and your family gun safety. They're not criminals, they're not thugs, and they certainly are not terrorists. They're abiding by the United States Constitution. They're comprised of American citizens that are trying to make sure we hold on to our Second Amendment rights, that every American citizen knows they have the legal right to own and bear a firearm, and that each and every American citizen knows how to use that firearm in a legal, lawful, safe manner. Nowhere in there do I see that the NRA is saying that it's okay to go out and murder children. Nowhere in there am I seeing that it's safe, that they're saying it's okay to go out there and kill people of another race. Nowhere in there am I seeing that the NRA is promoting criminality in the slightest. All they're doing is allowing us to hold on to our Second Amendment rights and teach us gun safety. That is it. And as I said, I myself have a firearm. As of this year, I myself am a member of the NRA. And I have been following NRA news for a really long time. Why? Because when it comes to gun rights and gun laws, the NRA is right there. I mean, they're the authority when it comes to gun laws and gun rights. If there's anything going on with guns, they know about it. You can go to nranews.com, nraila.org, nrapvf.org. There's numerous other NRA websites you can go to, nra.org, to find out what's going on and find out the truth about how the government is attacking our Second Amendment rights, and I find out the truth about what is going on with the Second Amendment and with all these different gun battles that are going on. And when people might say that they're biased in their news when they're telling the stories, because obviously they're not going to make themselves look like the bad guys. From what I've read on the websites, they're not biased at all. They're just going in and they're looking at all the facts, what they are, and telling what the facts are. And if there's a bill that's trying to pass the House or the Senate that pertains to gun rights, and as far as the mainstream media is concerned, we've only seen this much. The NRA will show us this much, the whole thing. So we have a clear understanding of what this bill is, and if it's voted into law, what it's going to do to our gun rights, and in retrospect, what it's going to do to add to the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution. And right now, by everybody falling for all this propaganda that the NRA is the fall guy, you are allowing the NRA to become the new scapegoat, so to speak, or the newest organization of terrorists in the eyes of the government, and if you're going to believe it, in the eyes of yourselves. Before you start believing in this propaganda, please look at the cold hard facts, and please realize it doesn't matter what skin color you are. If you are an American citizen, the NRA is standing up for your rights and protecting your rights to own and bear arms. The minute we lose those rights, yourself included, so if you try to protect yourself in any way, shape, or form, in any kind of situation, you're going to be looked at as the bad guy, not as the victim. It's the NRA that's trying to prevent that from happening. Same thing goes with the standards of ground laws. It's not a license to kill. If you're going to use stand your ground law to defend yourself in a court of law, saying that was self-defense, the scene has to prove it. If there's just one thing wrong, that all the evidence proves you wrong, the stand your ground law no longer protects you. Everything has to play in just right. So let's stop the bias, let's stop playing to all this propaganda, and let's stop allowing the current regime to make yet another perfectly 100% patriotic American organization fighting for our constitutional rights to become another so-called terrorist organization. All that's going on here because the government is trying to take down our Constitution, they're trying to take away our rights, and as far as our Second Amendment rights, the NRA is one of the biggest, most powerful organizations getting in their way of doing that. You allow the government to take down the NRA, you are allowing the government, you are willingly giving up your rights to own a firearm or any kind of weapon, and you're giving up your right to defend yourself with that weapon. Should somebody be trying to kill you or harm you or break into your house or what have you, you are giving up that right to protect yourself. So now, without the NRA guarding our Second Amendment rights and without the Second Amendment in place, if you are to protect yourself in any way, shape, or form, especially if you are to use a weapon to protect yourself, you are now the suspect, not the victim. You will be willingly giving up your rights. So before you allow the government to try to shut down the NRA and make the NRA look like a bunch of terrorists, why don't you think about that for a second? Why don't you think about, just for a second, would you want to go to jail because somebody was breaking into your home and they were going to murder you and your family? So before they got the chance to do that, you unloaded a round into them and you either severely injured them or killed them. Would you want that to be seen as you did that in self-defense and saved your own life and the lives of your family? Or would you now want to be arrested as the suspect and as the criminal and spend the rest of life in prison for murder because we no longer have the right to protect ourselves? You know, that's exactly where this is going to go if everybody conforms to the propaganda that's being spewed about the NRA. The NRA is not a terrorist organization. The NRA is not responsible for anybody's death, especially Trayvon Martin's death. All the NRA is here doing is protecting our Second Amendment rights and teaching everybody gun safety. The fact that Trayvon Martin was murdered is completely irrelevant of the NRA and stand your ground law. Completely irrelevant of that fact. The NRA did not mean Zimmerman and Martin meet each other. The NRA did not make Zimmerman shoot Martin, however which way you want that went down. The fact of the matter is Martin was shot. The NRA did not make him do that. And that's nothing to do with the NRA. And as I said, if you're a white, black, Hispanic, Asian, it doesn't matter. The NRA is protecting your rights to own and bear firearms. To help safeguard the Second Amendment right to own and bear arms. So if you own a firearm, no matter what skin color you are, or if you wake up tomorrow and you decide you want to go out and buy one for yourself, it is the NRA that is protecting your right to do that. You know, before you believe what the mainstream media is trying to spew to you and shove down your throats, let's take a look at what the reality of the situation is. And do your own due diligence. Don't blindly follow what's being said to you, and don't blindly believe anything, it's because it's the news. Do your own due diligence. Look into things for yourself. Go to the NRA's website and read their mission statement. Talk to NRA members. Talk to family members of NRA members. Take a look at what NRA has done over the past 100-some odd years. There's nothing criminal about the NRA. They're American patriots fighting and defending the United States Constitution and the rights of American citizens. That is all they are. That is all they are trying to do. Learn the facts before you judge, and learn the facts before you start to believe the lies. The least you can do, especially if you're one of these Trayvon Martin nutcases, if you really want justice for Trayvon Martin, my advice to you is to stop allowing Obama and his current administration to be using his death to forward their agenda to take away your right to own and bear arms. Stop letting them trample all over his death and literally use his death to further their own agenda. That's what's going on here. You want justice? Look into the facts. Do your own due diligence and stop allowing the current regime to use Trayvon's death for their own political gain. That's all that's going on here. It's not the NRA's fault. It's not Zimmerman's fault. It's not your fault. It's not my fault. So stop following what mainstream media says. Stop following the media bias and the propaganda. Do your own due diligence. If you are a family member or a friend of someone who you feel was unlawfully murdered, then all I gotta say to you is, I'm sorry for your death. Man, if you really truly want justice for that individual, all you gotta do is do your own due diligence and don't allow the current regime to use your loved one's death for their own political gain and the furtherment of their agenda, to remove your rights from you. And that's what they're trying to do. Do not allow it. The NRA is not the bad guys here. It's actually the other way around. The NRA is the good guys here, and it's the current administration that's the bad guys here. It's the United Nations that's the bad guys here, not the NRA. The NRA is the good guys. Why don't you just take a look at some different news articles about the NRA and what they've done in the past, just the past couple of years, and what the NRA has done for this country. If you have any questions or comments, I will gladly answer them. Leave me the question or comment in the comment section of this video. If you would like further information, I will be more than happy to tell you where to go for such information. I hope to see you in the next video. Until then, God bless.